He's back. We got him back, Justin. Have I told you that I miss your smell?
Warren. I have to put it out there, but I have been worried about my friend Warren. I have been very worried about my friend Warren and me not being on the Weekenders and some of the dumb stuff he has probably been saying, basically because my dumb stuff is not on the Weekender at the minute.
You see, Justin, I'm missing you, man.
I know.
I'm going out of my mind. Social distancing is hard.
It is.
I don't get to spend time with you, man.
I know.
So I miss your smell.
I know.
And I need to get all this shit out of my system, man. Otherwise, I just start blurting out crap all over the Weekenders, and our viewers end up having to put up with that shit.
It's all my fault. Of course, it's all my fault, but it's also the fault of everybody who's out there putting in orders for new toys.
Anyway, Games Workshop came to our rescue.
Mm-hmm.
They heard I was struggling, man.
Yes.
So they brought forward their announcements for 9th edition and said, look, that's the one way that they'll be able to get that balding kit back on the show.
I am excited for this. I'm not going to lie. I'm very excited for 9th edition.
Justin, I don't know where I stand on it, man. Firstly, I think the way they're executing it is great.
Mm-hmm.
I like the trailer. Very short for a Space Marine, by the way, but I like the trailer. I like some of the changes. We'll talk about them in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But you would think, I don't know. Will I say this? Yes, I'm going to say it. You would think that a 9th edition, maybe it's time to really shake the game up. Maybe it's time to Age of Sigmar that.
They already did that, though. They already did that, though, with 8th, whenever they completely rebuilt the game engine.
Yeah.
This is back to their old cycle, where they're going to be refining the game. You can...
Whoa, slow down here. Slow down. So 8th was a significant change of the game engine?
Yes, they stripped out all the weird random stuff, all like the wound to hit table, stuff like that. They stripped it down so that it was essentially what, 2 A4 pages for the core rule set?
Yeah, pretty much. That's how. I agree with.
Maybe this is all about my expectations, but of a complete revamp of the game, I'm thinking. Jerry, D100s, man.
Golf course as far as the eye can see.
D100s,
square
obviously
bases.
Some, I don't know if I'd go that far, but D100s, to give you some proper range in your rolls, definitely, some change to the activation, because
the activation has always been its Achilles heel for 40k. It is big Titanic slaps back and forth.
It's soul destroying, man. It's soul destroying. I would love to see a major change, and I don't think any 40k player would complain about a change to the way activation would work.
People liked the way that had been sort of brought into the way combat worked in Age of Sigmar. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the rest of it still works very similar, where it's you move all your stuff, etc., etc. But then the combats were done in that alternating style because it allows you to make that kind of minute-to-minute decision of what do I do next?
Immediacy to it.
Yeah. And I really think that would definitely work for 8th. I know a lot of people have done not 8th, 9th. Sorry.
9th. Yeah.
I know a lot of people, or 8.5. Who knows? But yeah, a lot of people have already been saying that they play 40k that way anyway. So it would be interesting to see what people would do with this going forward. But
it's just a case of look, they're claiming it's the best version of 40k they've ever done. Okay,
that's in the trailers. It's got to be true. So
after 30 years of publishing it, I would like to think it would be the best one they've ever done. Because if it was shitter than any of the rest, you probably wouldn't want to put it out. So that's a good start that they have the confidence to say that. Now they have this thing called narrative play, Crusade's narrative play. Now, when I first saw it, I thought, oh, this would be amazing. And then my blood ran cold when I realized, I'm not so sure that this is an elegant, narratively driven kind of game mode. I have a feeling that this is going to be a list of narrative hardback books that you're going to have to buy to play through.
Possible.
So whenever they talk about narrative play, I'm thinking me and Jerry coming up with a narrative where my gold Marines of ineptitude rock up against his
Nearly
skull bone hard Marines of awesomeness.
I've missed you.
And we fight for the Emperor.
From what we've been told, anyway, some sort of like the videos they did over Twitch and that kind of thing back over the weekend, and what was sort of announced as part of the little trailers, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a lot of massive books. I mean, who knows? But their sort of main core premise was linked play between games. So every game matters, in inverted commas, where you earn experience and level up your troops. So, and their sort of little sort of iconography for that was like a sort of scouty style trooper turning into a proper space marine. And it'll be very interesting to see whether or not that is something that is definitively carried through in this idea, and whether or not they've taken some things from like their skirmish games like Kill Team and that kind of thing and worked that into the way that they want to play large scale battles. I'd love that to be the case. I'd love the idea of them being like, right, you can make this little tiny fort as effectively like a squad of Marines or something, or maybe 2 squads on a HQ, and then over your years playing with that little group of men, you're going to be able to upgrade them and buy new models to, you know, make the new versions of them and stuff like that going forward. Make sure that everything matters in terms of your games. That would be amazing. That'd be great for like clubs and stuff. As long as you can
recruit more in so that the older models you have don't become defunct and just sit on a shelf.
Yeah. I'm sure that
would kind of suck.
I'm sure they're going to do that.
I'd be less worried about that than I'd be worried about campaign creep. So your narrative gang that has been winning and upgrading, like Billio, can now ruffle stomp whatever your opponent brings against you because they're just better. Primaris are great. My Primaris who have won 5 games in a row, they're amazing. And I don't care what you bring because I'm just going to kick you.
I guess they'll do it so that it'll be done within a group of people, a bit like you would play like games of more time. Obviously, that scale,
but you
campaign
still always
happens,
had that, yeah.
Someone would always win and win again and win again because they got more powerful.
And that needs to be baked in at the start because what Necron Mordheim did was give you an underdog bonus. So if you won, you got a big push-up, but if you lost, you got a little bit of a push-up, which wasn't enough to mitigate the massive shoeing you'd just taken. So...
It'll be very fascinating to see how they do it.
They need some kind of rubber banding in there.
They need it, and they need it in at the start. It needs to happen either before the game is played or during the game, and not as a bonus for having an unfun game forced upon you, which is how they've done it in the past.
Have I disconnected in some way though from the way gamers think at the moment? Because I don't understand where this drive that narrative is the bit between games. No, because whenever I talk about narrative,
mechanics.
Yeah, but whenever I talk about narrative, at least in my mind, and always has been, it's about the setup of the game and the narrative that plays out during the game. That's a narrative game to me.
I think that's definitely how the narrative play element works in Age of Sigmar. Like their big strong focus with the narrative play side of things is that you get 2 sides that you build those armies. They may not be equal, but the whole point is that you're telling that historical battle on the tabletop. So they definitely did that in Age of Sigmar. Whether or not that's carried through into 8th and into 9th, I don't know. But it's definitely something they've done there. But
I can kind of see why they're doing it this way because, I mean, like from the look of the novels, from what I've been reading up on it, it looks as if they're going to be looking a lot more deeply into the Indomitus Crusade. So it is going to be planet-to-planet fighting. So that story between the games is probably where it's going to build your narrative between games. So who has taken this segmentum of space? Who has taken this system? Have you captured shipyards or, things like that possibly?
As long as, like what Warren was saying, whatever decisions you make between games have an effect on the game itself. I think that's going to be important. So having things where objectives and scenarios are tweaked based on the way that the armies have developed and built up through this kind of Crusades narrative play. I think that would be cool.
Justin, you're clearly excited, man.
I'm looking forward to it. One thing I'm hoping for one thing I'm hoping for.
I bet you I can deliver it, because based on what you've just said, I'm going to cook up as much Smegmentum as I can, and you can have it all, man. you can fight for it, and I will deliver it to you.
No, the one thing I hope to fix is close combat.
Right, well, let's talk about some of the changes. First, command points. The fix to command points was give everybody more.
Mm-hmm.
What difference is going to make, Justin?
Well, right. So currently, command points, you use it for triggering off cinematic abilities within the game. So calling in an orbital strike, making a captain into a chapter master. I mean, like, there's
dice
a ton of different.
Game.
Well, you can buy dice rerolls in game, but you know, it's just cinematic moments like that, or just mitigation rules that you can use, or just nice little tactics and tricks. So having more of that in your games will probably generate a more narrative game in the style that you want, Warren.
Good. I like that. My favorite one, tanks can now shoot in close combat.
Yeah, I had an argument with John about this. I want vehicles. I want vehicles to be able to just drive out of combat or try and squish stuff. You remember the old tank shock rules?
Yes.
You know, I would love to see that come back, because how many times have you seen it where your vehicle just gets stuck in combat and you're just mired in there? Being able to shoot in combat, great. Can you shoot out of the combat that you're in? I hope so.
Yeah, well, it's as well as that, I'm completely in agreement with you. If a bunch of people surrounded my Baneblade, I would drive the over them. Yeah. I'd just drive over them, man. That would be it. You know, it's like nice and simple.
Yeah, or you would just start backing up away from them. You
never.
know,
they don't have a reverse gear.
Yeah, but
this is not the Alto Belinda we're talking about. This is the Baneblade, man. There's only like 16 forward gears in a Baneblade. If you want to go backwards, you have to loop your way around. There
nice,
we go.
Jerry. Nice.
See? You see?
Yeah.
But no, I'm good. You know, tanks.
Yeah, I like the idea of vehicles taking a bigger part in it, because I mean, like, they've kind of fell by the wayside a little bit, in my opinion.
More bonuses for using and playing around terrain.
Mm-hmm.
So where do we think that's
well,
heading?
I know where that's heading. That's Age of Sigmar. Every bit of terrain will have special rules for it in the special scenario. So I expect to see an awful lot more plastic terrain kits out there that people are going to want.
I'm quite happy with that. I like terrain that I can interact with.
They've specifically said there's going to be a lot more stuff to do with terrain actually having an influence on your defense a lot more and that kind of thing. Using it to stealth around and things as well is really cool.
Stealth now has there ever? I've never played an army that's had it, but what has been the stealth-related rules in 40K in the past? Now, obviously, Infinity, you have the ability to have markers that represent cloaked spies and stuff like that. But I don't remember ever coming up against anything like that in 40K.
No, there's never been anything like hidden deployments. Generally, it's been true line of sight with like cover bonuses.
You're too young, son.
Okay.
There has
Go
been
ahead then.
Deployment. Years ago, they had hidden deployment, hidden setup, so you would literally pick specific terrain pieces that you would put your rattling snipers or Vindicator assassin in or whatever. They took them out whenever they decided to make gameplay faster so they can have bigger armies on the table, and essentially at that point just turned it into cover bonuses. So if people are stealth, then they got a +1 to their cover bonus for their saves.
It's one of the interesting things that I think is really hard to do. Well, I think they found it hard to do in 40K because the whole idea is that you paint things and then you're meant to see all of your miniatures on the table. But stealth is a really hard mechanic to get done in games unless you're going to do something like blip tokens or markers like Infinity does, because then the opponent goes, well, I can see all of those tower guys behind that building. They're definitely there. Why wouldn't I not move around the corner and shoot them?
Yeah.
If you made it like a blip, they're not going to do this, but if you made it like a little blip token or something, so you weren't exactly sure what your enemy had sneaking away behind in the enemy lines, that would be really, really cool.
Maybe they have come up with some kind of a smart way of doing it. You know?
Well, I can't make your skin crawl, Warren, because they are making an app for it, but I think that's maybe just an army building app.
Yeah, I think it's just an army building app for that. Yeah.
Okay. What about the strategic reserves, Justin?
I'm not exactly sure what that one is.
Well, I think that's more about strategic reserves actually coming on where and when you want them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's things like the deep strike troops and that kind of thing. I think there's a lot more focus on there being more purpose and direction to exactly where things are, rather than it being a little bit more random, I believe. Which I guess is a good thing for those people that want to play a game and make sure that things don't, completely fly against what they had in their minds when it came to tactics. But
well, I do remember like the old drop pod rules from like years ago, where it could just land off table and be gone forever.
Oh yeah, my friend used to play Blood Angels, and the amount of times that his Blood Angels died before they even hit the table.
Yeah, fell into a pit of lava just outside of the table.
Exactly.
If they are being dropped from space, you have to accept some will be casualties.
Exactly. Yeah.
Explosive weapons are being upgraded to made to feel more deadly. Are we going to see the return of templates?
See, I don't know, because I quite like the mechanic they have currently for explosives, where it's just you're rolling to see how many people are caught in the blast. It's maybe just going to up the numbers of dice you're rolling to make it more deadly.
I believe they said they've like capped it out so the optimum level of damage that an explosive weapon can do is pretty much what it will do all the time. So explosive weapons will definitely do lots of nasty, brutal hits all the time, which is pretty cool.
So there's the variability of the damage.
So rather than you like firing something in and it just being like a whiff, it's actually going to have like a lot more impact, which again could be a bad thing because it's going to be removing entire squads from the table. Who knows? But
no.
I don't know. I kind of liked it when you could get a dud shell.
I think that's kind of cool, but it's not cool for the person doing it, but
yeah, but it's something that can happen.
Yes, but all of a sudden you'll see an awful lot of
in war. It might be like 1 in 10,000 would be a bad shell. On the tabletop, it ends up being like 1 in 6. It's
fair point.
So, aircraft. Now this I'm interested to see because I've always been quite a fan of the flyers in 40K. I know at that scale it doesn't make an awful lot of sense, but they're gorgeous models. It's lovely to see them on the tabletop. They're trying to make them more useful in games.
Yeah, so the big focus, I believe, on that front is that they've made it so that they're going to have more presence within a turn. So they're not just going to be sort of like a one and done kind of thing. They're going to be sort of like be able to use multiple times. They're going to have, their firepower is going to be more reliable and that kind of thing as well. Aircraft was not necessarily one thing that I've ever really looked at for 40K. I think I sort of stepped away from the grim dark future before they introduced, a dearth of flyers and all that kind of thing. But I guess if you're going to be making something that's a very fly heavy force, like Eldar or Tau or something like that, then that'd be cool. But
when they initially brought them in, it was devastating because if you weren't kitted for them, you just were never hitting them and you just got strafed off the board. It was horrible.
Yeah, although the current movement rules for some of them, it's a little tricky to use them because I think you've got some of them have like a forced 20-inch move and things like that, which can be a real pain.
Yeah, I think that's probably why they're going to do this thing where they allow it to be useful multiple times kind of thing. So they're going to be trying to make it so that you're not just going to be like, oh man, I missed those guys, they're gone now kind of thing. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, that in some ways simulates the speed and the agility of an aircraft. It's that'll be quite interesting to see how that goes. Now, Kill Team isn't going anywhere, so we can stress that Kill Team's staying. But they are saying that 9th edition is a scalable game from the smallest up to the biggest. Now, did we manage to catch any details on that, or is it just a bunch of claims?
I don't believe they talked about it in too much more detail other than the idea that you'll be able to play sort of your kind of half an hour style games, so a couple of squads aside, played on like a 3x3, 4x4 table, all the way up to playing like day-long, weekend-long games. So they're trying to make it so that the rules will work for small games all the way through to big games. Whether that means that you'll be able to, they're kind of trying to make it so that you can play it on that big level whilst also using the apocalypse rules. Maybe that's going to be the thing they do with that. I don't know, or whether that's going to be baked to the pure mechanics. That was a Freudian slip of the game. That'll be interesting to see. But for me, I like the idea that it can be played really well and as a rewarding experience in those kind of 30-minute chunks, because I like the idea of playing like a little cool, quick, skirmishy style game with a couple of troops aside and a HQ kind of thing, because that's what I used to play when I used to go into Games Workshop when I was, a wee lad. Going to Games Workshop, you take two troops and a HQ, and you play like multiple games on a day using just those, play it across different boards, that kind of thing. That was the real sort of narrative edge for me, and that's the kind of thing I'd like to see return as well in 9th. So
All
going beyond kilting kind of thing, but yeah. So.
All codexes and books will be viable in the new edition. It just seems, it almost seems too good to be true.
Wait, it's 8.5 in that.
All of this, doesn't it? Really? It's
and they've always had, the only time they rendered a set of codices defunct overnight was 2nd to 3rd.
Right.
From 3rd.
Oh, they've maintained compatibility all the way through.
Yeah, they've always had it, and it's just been a case of, well, once it will stay until they release the new version.
Yeah. I think what they were saying. Sorry, Justin.
But it does mean, I know we do say this every time a new edition comes out. It does grossly limit the changes that they can make to the game. Yeah. You know, it's
they would have done it with the indexes for 8th as well. So yeah, so they've done it twice.
Also, if you remember, like way back, I mean, like whenever the Necrons finally got their update, I mean, like their codex was from like 3rd, and we were playing in like 5th, 6th edition. Whenever they finally got some new gear,
it was 2nd. I believe it was 2nd edition Necrons. Were the book, and we were playing them in 5th. So
yeah, and you had the Dark Eldar as well. Took ages to get updates. I mean, they're a lot better now about cycling through the races to keep the updates rolling. So I mean, like I'm not overly worried.
To be fair, they can't win because they'll have someone like me wondering, yeah, I'd love to actually see you take on big changes to the game. But then they'll have other folk who go, how dare you do something that breaks my book, you know? And it's so to be fair to them, they really can't win on that front.
One of the things they did talk about when it came to those books is that they said that all the stuff that's been done in Psychic Awakenings has all been made effectively in the run-up to them knowing they were going to be doing 8. Let's just call it 8.5, all the way up into running. Into 8.5.
They're calling it 9th.
Boo.
Yeah.
So let's call it 9th. Yeah, you know, let's be fair to them, because the other side of this is maybe a lot of what we're seeing in 9th has been in the works from a long time ago. You know, we could be looking at things that they sorted out and thought of in the last couple of years. They've maybe been doing these things that we're just raising now.
But sorry, what I was saying was that all that stuff's been laying out in the Psychic Awakening, and that's been very much narrative focused as well. And they've been doing a lot of stuff within those Psychic Awakening books where they're adding new units in through those books. And we're seeing the same thing happening with Engine War and that kind of thing going forward over the next couple of weeks, next couple of months for Psychic Awakening, which is probably going to drift in and through the release of the new edition as well.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about Engine War in a minute. So it's,
I'd assume they're going to try and do something similar to what they've been doing with Psychic Awakening for any new units they bring into the mix. And then obviously use that as a stopgap before they bring out the new codexes and stuff in the future.
Yeah. Now, I will say the way they've done the launch for this, the announcement for it, has been really nice. I loved the trailer that they put out for it. It looked absolutely epic.
It was good.
Do you want to bring up the first link there, Justin?
Yeah.
Can have a look at some of the,
sure I can.
Because we've got like a list of videos and stuff that we mentioned over the weekend and things.
Yeah,
I think I've got it here.
There's been a chunk of content has went out for this. You know, I've been. Like you, Justin, I'm super impressed.
Yeah, I was drooling over this.
Yes, it was great. But did you notice how short the Space Marine was?
You can probably play that in the background, Justin, and just turn the volume off.
Play it there,
I'll give it a go.
Unless we get a big advert.
Let's try that. You guys able to see that okay?
Oh, yeah.
I can see that, yeah.
What do you see? There it is.
Yeah, I mean, like the graphic work they've done on this is simply gorgeous, and I do like the fact they've also got a female guardsman in here as well. Because I mean, like, how many times have I said the guardsmen need an update to their sculpts? I would hope that'll come in this edition.
Here's hoping we do get more Cadians. Yeah.
So
I thought Kitty was gone. Surely there can't be any more Cadians left.
The planet fell before the guard.
The battle nun with a gun. Now, this is the bit where it's at the end of this, the Space Marine and the Battle Nun stand side by side. Now, I was under the impression that Battle Nuns were about the same size as a standard human.
Regular human,
yes, they are.
So, whereas a Space Marine will tower over a regular human.
Oh, yeah.
But they're about the same height in this. So I'm just wondering...
maybe she's on a box.
Maybe it wasn't a Primaris Marine.
It might just be a little bit
No, I
of
think it's all
artistic
Primaris
license kind of thing. I think.
Yeah.
But, the thing that was really cool about this, actually, when this came on, was that they kind of teased this as being something to do with Hammer and Bolter, which is their sort of TV work that they've been doing. But obviously, this then migrated into this cinematic trailer, which is pretty cool. A lot of people were like, "Oh, cool! It's a new video game." Oh no, wait! Oh, it's the tabletop.
I would play the hell out of this video game. I tell you that now.
But no, I do really like it. I think it's a really nice way for them to be like, no, we're stepping into the sort of modern day of, you know, how we want to represent our games in massive big trailers like this. Like, there's loads of games right now that do a lot of stuff for esports and board games and tabletop games, card games, etc., that do cinematic trailers for them. So it makes sense that Games Workshop will have a very recognizable IP.
Now, in this shot, he does have the proper scale to him, kind of.
No, he's still a bit small, I think. Well, I don't know. The trailer is excellent, and you know, it absolutely makes me want to play and build a Sisters of Battle army. I just look at it, I go, oh. Now, on the topic of the models, okay, so the new starter box we're hearing is going to be Necrons versus Spesmaran.
Yeah, so if you
I have a picture of that here somewhere.
Yeah, in the first link there should be like a little teaser photo, and then there's more focused images in the second link as well.
Yeah. So after we get past all of our videos, let me share my screen again. If I do this right, there we go. It's been a while, folks. Give me a minute. I'm catching up again. Yeah. So I love this model. It's like a Catan shard, which looks really, really cool.
But if you scroll, so these are some of the ones that we basically just screen grab from their website and that kind of thing. So they're not the highest resolution. But if you scroll down just a little bit further, keep going.
And I love the redesign on the Necron Warriors.
Yep, which is very cool. So there is a very blurry photo, but this gives you the idea of what the two new starter armies are going to be. Where we got we've got loads of new models for the Space Marines, which we'll actually see in the next link. But the Necrons, we didn't really get too much more detail about them apart from like a big sort of fancy graphic of those. But they are looking very, very cool. That's probably going to be the new starter set, we'd imagine, for the new edition. But here we go. This is all the new Necron crazy stuff that's on the way. So one of the big things they've been pushing right now is the idea that the after Pariah, which is going to be the one of the Psychic Awakening books, the whole sort of focus seems to be shifting towards the Silent King, who's the Lord of all Necrons, possibly even as powerful as the likes of the Emperor and that kind of thing. And he seems to be coming back in a big way alongside some very fancy new Necron models, as you can see here.
Yeah.
So,
now, I love those Triffid-looking things.
They are very cool.
Now, this narratively makes perfect sense to me, because anyone who's read the Belisarius Call novel, The Great Work, you can actually find out from it that he's actually running around the galaxy at the minute stealing Necron tech to try and rebuild the pillars to close the warp rift.
Okay. Cool. So it all sort of works into the narrative then. That's cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, if the Silent King has woke up and went, "What the hell, Belisarius? You're stealing all my gear." That's bad mechanics. Stop. Bad mechanics. Hit it with a newspaper.
Look, Warren, there's a D100 in the middle of that.
Yeah, see that?
In the new monolith. It does look nice.
Yes, the new monolith. So I love the Triffid-looking things. I think they're terrific. The monoliths are great. You know, it's nice to see all that extra surface detail on the monoliths. They'll look awesome on the tabletop.
Yeah, you've got super heavy destroyers on here as well.
Yeah, they're okay.
I quite like it.
It's cool. It's cool.
It's gone up from 2 barrels to 3.
Yeah, that big ass thing over there with the
this.
Is it the Wump or the look at the size of that thing?
Yeah,
Wump, I think
that's how we'll define these.
Yeah.
And the look at the size of that thing's pretty good. And then further in the background, there's a bunch of kind of like Necron-y kind of terrain. I wonder.
Looks a bit like terrain,
yeah.
That looks like it could be a kit.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, the Necron's certainly getting a massive update. The sort of focus of them wasn't too much on that at the weekend. I'm sure it's going to be in the coming weeks.
It has to be, because they're awesome. Justin, can you go back to the Necron Warriors? You're so we can get a quick look at the.
Yeah, I think if
they're on the first link, I believe.
They're on the first link. Okay, so I need to step back. I think.
Because one of the cool things I liked about these is they've actually got battle damage on them, which I think is really important.
They've also made them heavier, because I remember the old Necrons were really spindly, but it looks as if they've bulked them up around the core quite a bit.
Does look so, yeah.
What do you
weapons...
think of the new standard Necron color scheme?
Cool. It looks nice, and it looks like it's going to be easy for folks to do some painting.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, I've got to say, I've always loved the Necrons. I think the Necrons are just, I think it's just awesome. And I really like what I'm seeing here in this. We also saw some of the new Space Marine stuff as well.
We did. I've got it called up here. I'm trying to stay ahead.
It's their continuing steps towards Primarising everything.
Well, the new Assault Intercessors, this is why I'm saying I'm hoping close combat gets fixed, because currently in 8th, trying to charge someone is a pain simply because of getting shot to hell in Overwatch if someone has set themselves up right.
See, I have no problem with that. You're playing a sci-fi game with ranged weapons. If it goes the other way, like it has in the past, you end up with a sci-fi game where nobody brings guns.
Yeah.
Because close combat was so devastating.
But that's what we've seen Workshop do so many times, is as they move edition to edition, it moves from the close combat edition to the shooting man's edition to the vehicles edition.
Yeah, but they've got to find a balance here. You know, it's like...
Yeah, but it does feel like a cycle to go through.
Yeah, but Overwatch is, if it's there, it's a viable tactic. It's a tactic that should be used.
But you also have to look at it.
You should be able to come up with tactics to trigger their Overwatch and then go in with your heavier stuff.
Because you have to look at it the other way, which is not every army is Marines. I know this is going to come as a shock to quite a lot of viewers. There are armies out there. So if you've got Imperial Guard, you don't really have a viable close combat full army. If you play Sisters of Battle, you definitely don't have a viable close combat based army. And if you skew it so much towards close combat over shooting, an awful lot of armies just go like Tau. Tau would die in their moves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Tau with the Overwatch at the minute, the worst I've seen is I saw a guy who was able to do rapid fire 3 hitting on 5s in Overwatch with a full unit of like fire warriors, and it was just vicious.
That's
you stay out of their way.
Yeah.
Or shoot them down first, which is what I do.
These are lovely. Keep going down. We have
I love the new bikes.
No, what is it? Is it the fact that they only go in a straight line that you love about them, or
I don't know. It's kind of kicking into the fact that I'm an anime fan. It's kind of got a little bit of Akira going on, and it looks like they're rocking twin heavy bolters. They just look really cool. And I'm also getting vibes of there was a bad movie, Priest, similar style.
Oh, right. The thing that I really liked about these is that I've always loved Space Marine bikes because of a description that a Games Workshop employee said to me about them. Because I was like, I don't really like Space Marine bikes. They look really derpy. And he was like, you do realize they're effectively massive battering rams with guns attached to them. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, Space Marines just drive these into the enemy. They don't care if they run them over and then, get bits in their vehicles. That is what they do. They drive forward, firing their guns, and I was like, "Whoa, that is so cool!" I could never afford bikes, so
No.
Yeah, and it was bikes that gave us one of the best "screw you" moments in all of Warhammer history.
Right.
No.
So there was a tournament where a fellow with a biker army was playing against a Necron player. The Necron player started everything in reserve,
and he deployed up on his
Well, the biker army just zoomed right up and just parked all the way across so he couldn't deploy.
Yeah. Cheese.
That's what's called cheese.
Pure cheese.
The real question is, with the new terrain rules, at what point will we be able to buy sleeping policemen? Because those primarily are not crossing a speed bump. There's no ground clearance there whatsoever. And I will pay 50 points per sleeping policeman.
They'll just smash through it, mate. I believe the last... there's got to be a Primaris Lieutenant. There's always a Primaris
because that is
Lieutenant.
legal.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is he's armed with some Volkite weaponry there, which is normally, up until now, has only been Mechanicus, I believe.
Scroll down then. Do we see what else there is?
This is my favourite new model.
Yeah.
I love everything about it except the head.
Right. Yeah, I love that. I think that's really cool.
I don't know. I do not like that. I will be trading out for like maybe a Mark III helmet stuck on there. I think
he'll probably come with other head options. John.
Oh, he does. I've already seen pictures.
But
I suppose I'm going to ask, what do you think of the new logo?
Well, the fact that it's
I'm okay with it. I'm kind of glad Lloyd's not in this segment because I know he'd just be sitting there having conniptions going,
why he's not in this segment.
Stop lying. And I did see someone actually took it, photoshopped it, and fixed it and went, Here you go, Games Workshop. I fixed it.
It's I see.
I can't believe it's deliberate. It just looks like that one slipped through the, and it's like they're damn now. It's just like, no, it's out there. We've shown everybody that's the logo. We can't fix it now. We've got
to keep it now.
We just have to look like we can't typeset. That's all we have to do.
Well, guys, 40K 9th edition is on the way. Exciting times all around. It's always cool. It is always cool when we get a new edition of 40K. It drives the player base. We start seeing people coming out of their nooks and crannies. Whether in the middle of a global pandemic, that'll still be the case, we don't know. But it's cool to see it. And remember, you can always grab this stuff over at store.ontabletop.com.
Buy merch.
Buy merch.
This is not the only news, though. The Adeptus Mechanicus tomorrow. So tomorrow morning on store.ontabletop.com, this stuff is actually going to be available for pre-order. And this is the first new stuff we have had.
Well, new releases, not new stuff, because we have been getting restocks from Workshop.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about new releases. No, new stuff, Justin. New stuff we haven't seen before. Right. So
another part for Psychic Awakening.
Yeah, Engine War. So which two factions is this focusing around?
So the focus for this particular book, and you can see it just there if you scroll back up, so I don't have to read the thing itself. So it's going to be, scroll down a bit. Oh, God, you've gone past it.
We've missed it, Justin.
It's been too goddamn long.
Okay, so in the little description underneath, I've put what it's in here. So you've got the Adeptus Mechanicus being the focus of this one, obviously, but it's also going to cover the Imperial Knights, Chaos Demons, which then focus specifically on the forces of Slanesh. So that's what you've got to look forward to when it comes to the unit profiles and that kind of thing in this book.
Right, so let's scroll down.
Hang on.
Store force.
If Slanesh invades a Mechanicus world, does that mean it just ends up with a Forge World building vibrators? I need to know the answer to this question.
I'm going to say yes.
That depends on how much casting they're doing, Justin.
All right, so scrolling down, we've got this guy leading the way.
Yep, so that is a Tech Priest Manipulus.
Is he picking his mechanical nose?
He does look like he's picking
He does look like he's doing that. But this guy was available originally in a different set. I believe it was for Kill Team. But he's now going to be re-released with Engine War, so that you can pick him up and use him in all your forces.
Okay.
Cool. I do like the paint job on the little clear glass thing on the top.
That is very cool.
Very nice touch.
Yeah.
And there's also other people we're talking about. You know, it's not just thin, weedy people that get put into the Adeptus Mechanicus. It's all the big folk as well. So it's all good.
Nice.
It comes in all shapes and sizes.
Even if you're thin going in, you float around so much you don't burn anything.
These I don't like.
So
why?
I do not like mechanical cavalry.
Why?
Cool. I do not like the look of that.
It's amazing.
There's something about it that just jumps at me and goes, no.
They're the best looking robot dogs I've seen. In fact, in my ears, all I can hear is.
Might just be my microphone again.
So these are the Cerberus Raiders and Sulphur Hounds is the set that this one is. So they're sort of been done as either sort of like dual pistol wielding riders for the Adeptus Mechanicus, or folks with sort of big long rifles as well. And so they can fill two different ranges.
Similar to what they did with the base infantry box then.
Yes, yeah. And the thing with the, I believe it's one of them, I think it must be the Silver Hounds, they have like fire breathing like masks on the front of their mounts. So they like breathe out like flamer stuff, so which is very cool.
Yeah, that's flamers right there.
Nice.
Yeah. Then we have
Fly, my pretties! Fly! Oh wow! I wasn't expecting that.
Like, I have a major problem with these. They have fabric wings.
Yeah.
I hope that fabric is flame retardant because it looks like they're rocking flamers.
I'm sure it will be.
I'm sure it will be, Justin. I think that's
the future.
That
It may
was
not be
something
fabric.
that was very easily solved by the time they've done this.
So these are.
That's interesting.
So these are the Taraxi sterilizers, and the sterilizers is spelt in the typical Warhammer 40k fashion. with none of the badly, yeah. And also the Sky Stalkers. So you've obviously got the Flamer variants and then the sort of more rifle
it's
variants.
spelled in a copyrightable and IT kind of way.
They learned their lesson from Spot the Space Marine.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
The thing that I really like about this, and also what's coming up next, is that I've come to love the sort of mad Da Vinci in the grimdark sort of style of design for a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And the same goes for the Archaeopter there, which you can see, which is their new sort of flyer that they've got in the mix.
Yeah, as soon as this came out, people were making Assassin's Creed jokes all over the place.
They were, yes.
Has this not been released yet?
Yeah. No, it was previewed. It was previewed a really, really long time ago at a 40K event, and then it's not come out since then.
Well, welcome to the world, Archaeopter. It's good to see you finally, because I still think it's kind of cool. Right, and then they get a new start.
Yes, I like this.
So that comes with the sort of the tech priest at the front. You've got the squad that can be built in either a group of 10 or 2 sets of 5, and then you've got the vehicle at the back as well, which can also be so I think it's variant.
A dual kit. So
it is a dual kit. So they, of course, Games Workshop suggested that you should buy 2 of these so you can build all the options. So,
well, why not?
Hey, it's probably one of the more cost-effective ways to get a good bulk of your army in place.
The start collecting stuff very much is. And as we were saying before, we do have all of this over on the Warhammer 40,000 section of store.ontabletop.com. Don't forget the .com at the end, otherwise it won't work. So yeah, you can go and check those out and stuff. I believe we've been getting a lot of the back orders and everything back in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like last week, the postman nearly cried whenever I brought all the boxes out to him. So that's a win. And I mean, like this week, we're expecting a massive delivery at the time of filming. So I'd say whenever we're done with this segment, I will be going out to relentlessly pick and pack this evening to make sure the stuff goes out.
Awesome.
But it's really good to see that sort of 140,000 is sort of ramping things up again and getting people involved and interested in it. And you've got the new edition on the way. You've got these new stuff for Adeptus Mechanicus. Hopefully we get to see a really nice sea change and stuff when we go towards Pariah, which is going to be the other big book after the Fabius Bile one that's coming out for Psychic Awakening, because I really loved what we'd seen in the previews a couple of weeks ago for that. I mean, it's been a couple of weeks since we talked about anything 40K, which is obviously, I'm sure, nirvana for some people, but also
I would
people
imagine,
biting nails for a lot of people as well.
There are plenty out there that were not worried. But look,
I do have one little side note for everybody. If you like your audiobooks, the next in the Gaunt's Ghost series is coming to Audible next month.
Oh, cool. I do like Gaunt's Ghost. Very cool series.
Necropolis, one of the best in the series.
Cool.
Right. 9th edition is on its way. I think I'm going to go and dust off some Necrons because I'm feeling in a very Necroner kind of a mood. Especially now with them contrast paints being layered over metallics. I think we could come up with some awesome Necron stuff. Right, Justin, it's time to say cheerio, man.
Bye-bye.